Today we're going to use these to make one of these. Let's get moulding. So in this episode, or series of episodes, see how it pans out, we're going to be looking at mould making. We'll start with pretty basic mould for this one, unlike this one that's as you can see, it's a 5-piece mould. A little bit more complicated. We'll maybe cover them in another series. So basically the first thing that I've done, I've got the parts that I need moulded. These are just covers. I'm just making copies of the covers. I'm not actually making covers to go on these covers, otherwise it would be a slightly different process again. I would need some like some waxy sheet just to give us a little bit extra spacing, so I'm not just duplicating the same shape as what I'm taking the mould of. I will be duplicating a slightly larger size, if that makes any sense. Well, let's say we'll cover that anyway later on series. Yeah, basically all I've done up till now is I found the best way to secure them to a board. Got a nice board around there, so I'm coming to infuse them. We've got something to stick onto. Yeah, just packed up as close as we can to it. I've also, see in here, I've also, if you can see in there, I've also glued some little pieces inside there just to stop it from flapping about too much, because obviously this isn't the most rigid of boards. Realistically, in an ideal world, this would be nice and firm like a block of wood, just to give us a flat base to start on. Next of all, what we'll do is we'll take some of the fillet and wax. It's firm, so it's not mega warm in here at the minute, but all you want to do is just put it up in your hands a bit, make it soft, and then just use it to fill in the holes. As you can see, just use it to fill in the holes, and then rub it back. But let's get started with that. As you can see, got all the borders in now, it's all sealed up around the edges, right the way around. A nice little seal on it all the way around there. Now what I would do before I go any further, I like to give it a coat of this mould cleaner. All the stuff I use generally are from Easy Composites. It's actually really good company. This video isn't sponsored in any way, shape or form by themselves. It's just a company that I use, and they have been really good with me, to be fair. Yeah, what I'll do is I'll give the whole thing a licking over with a mould cleaner. What that'll do is that gets rid of, you see all the little handprints, the fingerprints, and any little bits of stray wax that there may be on there. It'll just remove them, just so there, you see, a little bit of stray wax. So it just removes all them little particles, which will give you a better finish in the final mould. The more work and effort that you can put into it now, the better the final mould will turn out. The better the final mould turns out, ultimately the better the part will turn out. You know, you could churn out a really bad mould and still take parts from it, but every single part you will have to do repair work to. Now that can be a nightmare. If you're doing 10-15 parts out of a mould, that can be a nightmare. You spend most of your time just repairing parts and cleaning them up. Right, so once I've given it a clean up with a mould cleaner, next thing I do is I like to give it 3 coats of mould release wax. It's good stuff. Just gives it a kind of base coat, as it were. Got to leave that 15 minutes between coats. just allow the wax to sort of haze over, and then I give it a buff off. And then I like to give it several coats of this. Now this is really, really good stuff. What you do is, once your mould's made, coated in several coats of this, leaving it 15 minutes again between each coat. The final coat you must leave an hour before you do anything with it, just to give it, let it all dry out completely. They reckon that once it's coated in this, and once this is sort of pregnated into the mould, that your mould will be good for 4 or 5 releases without having to do any top-ups. However, I like to do at least 1 coat between moulds just to keep on top of it. It's not worth the effort. For the 2 seconds it takes to do this, it's just not worth the effort. It's not worth the effort and the poor release that you'll get if you have release issues. I've had release issues before. I used to use PVA glue on my moulds. Absolute nightmare. Really, really don't like the stuff. Don't care for the stuff at all. It's destroyed more parts than it's made, and it's just not worth it, to be fair. So what I tend to do is now, I tend to use a two-stage release system, and I find that works pretty much well for me. If you want to know where these all come from, I'll put a link down below in the comments box, so you can go and have a look for yourself. And as I say, if you fancy giving it a go, give it a go. What's the worst that'll happen? So let's get on, get it cleaned and get it coated with the first coat of wax.
Let's go.
We're back. Since, well, just in the last clip, literally, it was like a day ago, but it's in the last clip for you guys watching at home. All I've done from there is I've given it 3 coats of the mould release wax, and then I've given it several coats of the release agent over the chrome bits, and that's just to help it release. As I've said before, don't need any release agent on the correr board stuff, because it releases anyway. The only other thing I've done since the last time you've seen it is I've added some extra borders on. Now when you come to make these parts, borders are your friend. The bigger the borders, the better, you know. Give it a choice, you'd want a border this big. Just purely, the more overhang you've got, the more room you've got to play with. The first few moulds that I actually made, I've made really tight on the borders. Of course, there's nothing else but trouble ever since. Could add to the borders, but it's one of them. Is it worth the chew on adding to the borders to make them bigger? I'm managing with them now, so every mould I make from now on, I try and make with as big a border as I can physically get away with. So yeah, that's that. So next, what I'm going to do is use the Unimould tool and gel coat from Easy Composites. Really good stuff. It's basically just a gel coat. What that does is that stops print through from the fiberglass when we make the mould, so you don't get, basically you don't see the fiberglass strands in the final mould part itself. I've got that's a previous mould that I made. Now as you can see, the black is the tool and gel coat. Now what you want is, ideally it says what you want is 1 thick coat or 2 thinner coats that'll cover. Now what I give with this was I thought I'd give it 1 thick enough coat, but it turns out by the time I've rubbed it back, I've actually rubbed through. Now this part here in particular, you can't see it, you can feel it, you can't see it, has print through from the fiberglass mould. Now what that means is every single part of this mould produces now, I've got to rub back with 1200 just to get rid of the print through. Bit of a nightmare. So yeah, from past experience, what I tend to do now is I give it 2 nice healthy coats of this, and then from there we can start laying the fiberglass down. So let's get cracking on with the gel coats. There we go. So You can see we've got that painted on. I did run a little bit shy of the gel coat, but what I'll do is I'll just mix it a little bit more the next time. The main part is that I've got a good thick coverage on the two wing mirrors, which is the main part. The rest of it doesn't, you know, if I get print through on the borders, it doesn't matter because they're all going to get chopped off anyway. As long as the main parts have got a good thick covering on, that's what matters. But as I say, what I'll do for the next second coat that I give it, I'll just mix up a little bit more, probably 20 or 30 grams more, and that'll give us enough chance to get the extra and the borders done. But as you can see there, this is the reason why you give it 2 coats. You see where you're getting, see the silver bits? That's the release agent. That's the release agent basically doing its job and repelling. It's trying to release itself effectively. It's what it's doing. So that's always a good sign when you get that. Hence why we give it a second coat. The second coat will just bash straight over all that, and it'll cover all that, no trouble at all. So what we'll do is we'll leave this tack up now, get it to that lovely tacky stage that we do like so much. Just where you can leave a fingerprint in it, but it's not bringing any resin off, like any material off with it with your finger. So we'll leave that tack up normally about 1.5 hours, 2 hours, depending on temperature. It's a little bit chilly other day, so it might take a little bit longer. But yeah, we'll pick it back up ready for its second coat. I've been keeping an eye on it and testing it from time to time, as you can see. Just trying to get the point right. I think we're about there now. See, I'm leaving fingerprints. There's nothing coming off. However, if I go into the deep stuff, yeah, I'm getting stuff off. So basically that's ready to go now. So the bulk of it now is tacky enough to recoat. Thick bits, all we'll do is just mop them round and even them out a little bit. Obviously where it's really thick, that's all that's happening is it's going to take forever and a day to dry, which means the rest of it will be too dry to recoat. So yeah, we're going to go straight on, get the second coat on now, and we'll pick this up when we're ready to start with the coupling coat. Second coat's on, all done, tacked up. It's just dry enough now to leave bit sticky, just dry enough now to be leaving fingerprints, but not actually bringing anything off on my finger. So what we're going to do now is we're going to go ahead and stick the coupling coat on. Basically this is the first coat. This is a fine layer of fiberglass. I think it's about 100 gram. I've done it. It's not heavy stuff, really light stuff. Got to stick the first layer on, and that effectively give it a little bit of rigidity, and it helps prevent the print through as well, because we go straight on with the coarse stuff. Obviously the coarse stuff can be a bit much for the gel coat. This fine stuff will kind of give it an intermediate layer before we'll go in with the heavy stuff and give it the strength. So all this is effectively to do really is just kind of hold it together and give it a nice light coat. So measuring out the resin for it. Pretty simple system this. All you need to do is cut out enough chop strand mat that you know you need to do the job. Weight, and then you multiply that by 4, whatever that comes out at. That's how much resin you mix up. Pretty basic setup. There's like 50 grams of CSM there. So obviously I'm going to need 200 grams of resin to do the job. So we'll get on. I'll get the resin mixed up. And we'll get the top coat on. we go. As you can see, what I've done is, if you work it right, you'll end up with, don't really want to touch it because, yeah, horrible. You'll end up using the last of your resin. Now I had a tiny little bit short, I just quickly grabbed it. I always keep, just under my bench in handy, I always keep some little scraps and pieces. Filling in, if I've got any little short pieces or if I've got a little bit too much resin, you can always just bash a little bit extra fiberglass in rather than having to go and cut one out of the cut one out of the roll. Now what you seen us do there was basically I just effectively bashed the death out of it and to try to get all the trapped air out. As you can see, it's all completely wet out. That there is resin, it's not actually trapped there. As you can see, it's all wet out now. There's no trap there. I do actually have a roller to roll the air out, but you don't really need to bother too much with this because it's so light and easy. You can't just pound to death with it with your brush and it'll take the air out. When I come to do the top coat, the 400 gram chopped strand mat, then yes, I'll be using the roller for that one just to get rid of any trap. So what we'll do with this now is we'll let this all tack up, get to that lovely tacky stage where we like it, where you can leave fingerprints in it but it doesn't bring anything off, and then we'll go on with the top coat. Now what we'll do is, I believe it's 400 gram, I think it is, I'm not 100% sure. It's all part of the Easy Composites Unimould mould system. It's a really good system. It has everything you need, the full setup you need in it. I'll double check on what it is and I'll put it up here or here somewhere. I'll put it up somewhere, what we've got. And yeah, basically we'll stick 4 layers of the next coat on just to build it up and give it the strength. And then from there the mould will be set. Normally leave it about 2 days. You can demould it within a day, but I like to leave it 2 days because it's not the warmest here. The temperature's starting to drop a little bit. So yeah, we'll leave it 2 days to mould, to set, and then we'll rip the parts out and hopefully, touch wood, we'll have a lovely mould. So I've just checked the recording from laying this down because I had a funny feeling something had gone wrong. My phone was actually switched off when I came back to switch it off. Turns out the footage of me laying the tooling resin down and the thick chop strand mat got corrupted. Left a little clip of the video and you probably wondered what the hell that was all about. Well, that's what it was about. But basically I've laid down four layers of chop strand mat, you can see, so it's solid now. I've left it 2 days to set up just to make sure. I could probably demolded it after 1 day, but to be fair, I had other things on yesterday, so I've left it 2 days to set up. Let's get on and get it demolded. So it was that. They come out really quite well. As you can see, they've left the moulds nice and shiny, so there's going to be very little prep work to repair them. All I'm going to do is I'm just going to run probably my little Dremel tool just around the edges to clean up the very edges, because I did have a tiny little bit of gel coat that just slipped underneath and give us basically a little lip on it. I broke most of them out now. It's just going to be a simple matter of sanding them up just so I've got a nice smooth edge to go back to. Give the mould a quick clean up, get rid of the duct tape, the sticky side of the duct tape, get the wax off, and that's it. This mould is actually ready now to start and produce. I might trim the edges just to tidy it up a little bit for more from your own use, because it's sharp edges and stuff. So I'll probably just trim the edges up and make use of them. You've seen us using these little wedges to get them out. You can actually buy proper little plastic wedges. Obviously you wouldn't want to jam a metal tool in there because it'll just gouge up your shiny new mould and risk damaging the part. So yeah, you can actually buy proper little wedges for them. But I'll be honest, what these are, it's just something I had lying about. They're out of a laminate floor kit, polyene laminate floor for putting the edges on. Just little tiny plastic wedges, hard plastic wedges. They do the job. So I've got a little box of them and I just use them, just knock them in around. And what it does, it just breaks it away ever so slowly, and yeah, helps release the parts. But as you can see, quick clean up, there's no damage to the parts at all. Parts are all clean, so they're good to go back to the customer. Obviously once there, you can see there's a bit there. They're all good to go back to the customer once I've made of these carbon fibre mirror covers. Everyone's a winner, everyone should be happy. So yeah, let's get this cleaned up. There we go. It's easy as that to make a mould. Nice, easy, simple process. All helped very easily with the Unimould mould making system from Easy Composites. Once again, I would just like to add again that this video is in no way sponsored by Easy Composites. However, you know, if they want to sponsor us, it would be quite alright with me. All I've done from there, anyway, all I've done to the mould when I've cleaned it up is basically just took the sticky stuff off the mould from because I found the duct tape that I used has left the lines a little bit sticky. So I've given that a clean down with some acetone. Got rid of the stickiness of it. I've also just ran my Dremel around the edges and corners just to soften them up a little bit, just because when I pull vacuum on this when I'm infusing the part, I don't want it to puncture the bag. So yeah, I've just took any little lips off there that may help to stop us from releasing the part, and just give the whole thing a general kind of clean down with some mould cleaner. I've just took the rest of the stuff off. Other than that, obviously the usual, just sort of trim the edge up just to make it look a little bit nicer and neater, so it's not all got raggy splinters and stuff hanging out. So there we go, that's all there is to it, nice and easy. Have any of you guys ever tried making a mould? Any tips or tricks that I may have missed or might even be worth trying? It would be nice if you could just let us know down in the comments. And yeah, I mean that's it, that's basic mould making 101. What we'll try and do later on in the series is we'll advance it a little bit, and we'll get into sort of multi-piece moulds basically. We'll go through that set of ways. The process is all pretty much the same, just there's a few more steps in, obviously, to making multiple moulds on the one part. So yeah, but let's say we'll cover that later on in the series. So yeah, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and if there's anything you think I could be doing better, then just leave a comment down below and let us know. Likewise, if you think there's something I did particularly well, hey, everyone loves a pat on the back, you know. So yeah, just leave a comment down below. But yeah, like I say, don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll carry on making more and more of these. Thanks for watching. Cheers.